things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion. I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Hello.
Lasers.
Hello. This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to Darkwolf's Den.
The Darkwolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret mountain cave, hidden deep within the Idaho wilderness. This is the Darkwolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live worldwide from a secret mountain cave hidden high up in the beautifully snow-covered peaks of the Idaho mountains. That's right, we're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, tearing through the atmosphere, and tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the Darkwolf's Den Show for Thursday, March 11th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing something that is actually quite the head-scratcher. Everybody knows that I love paradoxes, and this is a scientific paradox that science is still scratching its head over to. Where is everybody? That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the Fermi Paradox. Why don't we see UFOs as frequently as we see planes, trains, and automobiles? Where is all the other alien civilizations? Well, there's so much to cover and so little time to get there, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to get to all of that here in just a moment. But first, today in history. On this day in 1971, rocker Jim Morrison leaves for Paris to reorient himself emotionally and creatively, and also to avoid a jail sentence given to him in Miami. He will never return to the U.S. Something tells me it had more to do with the jail sentence than it had to do with reorienting himself. What about you guys? Anyway, that is today's Today in History. And of course, Jim Morrison being the lead singer of The Doors. And it's interesting that there's a really weird link between musicians and the interest of musicians in UFOs. I'm actually going to have to do a show about that and the interesting link between ufology and music. And I'm going to have to get it out on the schedule pretty soon, actually. But with that said, on the schedule tonight, we've got the Fermi Paradox. And what is the Fermi Paradox? Everybody knows that I love paradoxes. I love the head scratchers. And this one is no different. This is a scientific paradox. And this is a question asked by Enrique Fermi years and years ago. Yes, the same Enrique Fermi that the Fermi Lab is named after. He was sitting around one day and asked his colleagues suddenly, "Where are they?" And what he meant was, where are the aliens? Where is everybody? We seem to be the only life that we can find in the entire galaxy, or at least our solar system. So where is all the life? Why don't we see UFOs flying by just as frequently as we see planes, trains, and automobiles?
Are we the only living things in the entire universe? The observable universe is about 90 billion light years in diameter. There are at least 100 billion galaxies, each with 100 to 1,000 billion stars. Recently, we've learned that planets are very common too.
To say that planets are very common is an understatement. Every single star in the sky has, on average, at least one planet. Now, whether that planet is in a area in which it could harbor life is another story, and it even brings the question what areas can or cannot harbor life, because we're finding on Earth more and more life in places that we never thought life could exist. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. The point is there are a large multitude of planets, one at average for every single star, and that is an average. Think some might, like ours, have 8 or 9, others might have 2, others might have none, but generally speaking, all stars have one planet. And again, this is an average number, but that's still a large amount of planets.
And there are probably trillions and trillions of habitable planets in the universe, which means there should be lots of opportunity for life to develop and exist, right?
And of course, theoretically, makes a lot of sense. With enough coin flips, you're eventually going to land on heads more than once, right? If I flip a coin 50 times, at least 25 times I'm going to land on heads, and at least another 25 times I'm going to land on tails. So we know life exists here. Surely, given enough time and situation, life has to exist elsewhere, right?
But where is it? Shouldn't the universe be teeming with spaceships?
And this question in and of itself is the Fermi Paradox.
Even if there are alien civilizations in other galaxies, there's no way we'll ever know about them. Basically, everything outside of our direct galactic neighborhood, the so-called local group, is pretty much out of our reach forever because of the expansion of the universe.
Now, I disagree with that particular statement. I think with enough scientific advancement, the ability to jump to any spot in the universe would eventually or will eventually be available. So I don't think the areas are going to be off limits forever, but that's a side note.
So let's focus on the Milky Way. The Milky Way is our home galaxy. It consists of up to 400 billion stars. That's a lot of stars, roughly 10,000 for every grain of sand on Earth.
And remember, as I said a moment ago, every single star has, on average, one planet.
There are about 20 billion Sun-like stars in the Milky Way, and estimates suggest that a fifth of them have an Earth-sized planet in its habitable zone, the area with conditions that enable life to exist. If only 0.1% of those planets harbored life, there would be 1 million planets with life in the Milky Way. But wait, there's more.
I don't know about you, but that seems to me like quite a lot of coin flips.
The Milky Way is about 13 billion years old. In the beginning, it would not have been a good place for life because things exploded a lot. But after 1 to 2 billion years, the first habitable planets were born. Earth is only 4 billion years old, so there have probably been trillions of chances for life to develop on other planets in the past. If only a single one of them had developed into a space-traveling super-civilization, we would have noticed by now.
The argument can be made not unless they've come within our solar system, but we don't find evidence anywhere in the universe or in the galaxy, to the best of the knowledge that we're given, of course, going along mainstream academia's knowledge, which is very limited. But generally speaking, we don't see UFOs flying around as if, you can't just get a pair of binoculars and watch UFOs flying like a freeway outside of the planet. So it's still a valid question. Where is the evidence of a spacefaring billions and billions year old civilization if it has existed?
What would such a civilization look like?
And that is determined by something called the Kardashev Scale.
There are 3 categories. A Type 1 civilization would be able to access the whole energy available on its planet.
So how close is the Earth to being a Type 1 civilization?
In case you're wondering, we're currently around 0.73 on the scale, and we should reach Type 1 sometime in the next couple of hundred years.
So it's likely that in our lifetime we won't see humanity reach a Type 1 civilization. And with the way humanity is heading currently, I would dare say we've declined on that number, but that is just my personal opinion.
Type 2 would be a civilization capable of harnessing all of the energy of its home star. This would require some serious science fiction, but it is doable in principle.
And a lot of us have heard about what's called a Dyson Sphere, and this is the technology that is suggested by Frank Dyson that could be the technology the aliens would use to harness the energy around a host star, kind of like build a ball around a star to harness its energy and send it to whatever planet you're trying to send the energy to.
Type 3 is a civilization that basically controls its whole galaxy and its energy. An alien race this advanced would probably be godlike to us. But why should we be able to see such an alien civilization in the first place? If we were to build generation spaceships that could sustain a population for around 1,000 years, we could colonize the whole galaxy in 2 million years. Sounds like a long time, but remember, the Milky Way is huge.
It doesn't even necessarily have to be generational spaceships. It could be a technological probe or a set of probes or self-replicating machines that go out to all these different solar systems and whatnot also.
So if it takes a couple of million years to colonize the entire galaxy, and there are possibly millions, if not billions of planets that sustain life in the Milky Way, and these other life forms have had considerably more time than we've had, then where are all the aliens? This is the Fermi Paradox, and nobody has an answer to it.
So upon hearing Enrique Fermi's question of where is everybody, Frank Drake, the famous astrophysicist, put together an equation to try to figure out mathematically how many possible civilizations could exist in the galaxy. And here is, ladies and gentlemen, an honor for me to introduce the voice of a hero of mine growing up, Mr. Carl Sagan, explaining the Drake equation.
There are an enormous number of stars. Only some of them will have planets suitable for life. On only some of those worlds will intelligence arise. And perhaps a few of those civilizations will avoid the trap jointly set by their technology and their passions. If there are many civilizations, one of them should be rather close by. If there are few civilizations, then even the nearest may be very far away.
And that is the simple explanation of the Drake equation. But let's find out what the equation actually tells us.
This is one of the great questions. How many advanced civilizations capable, at least of radio astronomy, are there in the Milky Way galaxy? Let's call the number of such civilizations by the capital letter N.
I hope you brought your pen and paper today, ladies and gentlemen. I forgot to mention there is a math lesson in today's episode, but I promise it is actually going to be quite a fun one. So the end of the equation, the last answer, the answer that we're going for, is going to be the variable n, the number of civilizations that possibly could have arisen, at least to the point of radio astronomy, to the point of being able to be detected.
It's a number. It depends on many things. It depends on the total number of stars in the Milky Way. Let's call that n sub star.
And after we go through each one of these categories, we will go back and actually apply numbers to these categories.
It depends on the fraction of stars that have planets. Let's call that f sub p.
Which, again, we now know that almost every star has a planet.
It depends on the average number of planets in a given solar system that are ecologically suitable for life. Let's call that n sub e.
In other words, how many are in the habitable zone for life?
It depends on the fraction of suitable planets in which life actually arises. Call that F sub L.
Of the ones in the habitable zone, how many of those actually had life occur on it?
Depends on the fraction of inhabited planets on which intelligence emerges. Let's call that F sub I.
Of the ones that life arises on, how many have intelligent life that arises on them?
And on the fraction of those planets in which the intelligent beings evolve a technical communicative civilization, call that F sub C.
Of the intelligent civilizations, how many actually become technologically able?
Finally, it depends on the fraction of a planet's lifetime that's graced by a technical civilization. Call that F sub L.
So how long the technological civilization actually exists?
If we multiply all these numbers together, we've estimated capital N, the number of civilizations. This equation, due mainly to Frank Drake of Cornell, is only a sentence. The verb is equals. So let's try to go through the program of this equation.
Now, I will warn everybody, this information is slightly outdated, and recently they did update the Frank equation, or the Drake equation, but I haven't been able to find the exact numbers of the new update. But it's a simple enough equation that we could all do it ourselves. We just need to plug the numbers, right? And here, let us plug the numbers that Carl Sagan plugged back in the, I believe it was the 1970s when this was made.
By carefully counting the number of stars in small but representative regions of the sky, we find that the total number of stars in the Milky Way is about 400 billion. It's a lot of stars.
So our first number is 400 billion. That's number of stars in the entire galaxy.
What about planets? Well, in studies of double stars, in investigations of the motions of nearby stars, and in many theoretical studies, we get a strong hint that many, perhaps even most stars, are accompanied by planets. So let's take F sub P, the fraction of stars that have planets, as a quarter.
Now, this is where I think the data is extremely outdated because we've learned a lot since the 70s. So we're going to change that number. We're going to say that the number we're going to use, because we're going to keep a running tabulation tonight, and the number we are going to use is going to be 3/4 of stars have planets, or 75%.
Then the total number of planetary systems in the galaxy is 400 billion times a quarter, or 100 billion. We'll write down our running totals in red.
So our running totals are going to be much different. And based on 75% or 3/4 of all stars in the Milky Way harboring planets, our number now is 300 billion, or 75% of 400 billion.
Now, if each system were to have, say, 10 planets, as ours does, there would be 100 billion times 10, or 1 trillion worlds in the galaxy, a vast arena for the cosmic drama. In our own solar system, there are several bodies that might be suitable for life of some sort. There's the Earth, of course, but there are possibilities for Mars, for Titan, perhaps for Jupiter. If other systems are similar, there may be many suitable worlds per system, but to be conservative, let's choose N sub E equal 2. 2 worlds suitable for life per system. Then the number of planets in the galaxy that is suitable for life would be 100 billion times 2, or 200 billion.
And this ratio I actually agree with. So let's go ahead and keep the number that he's pulled for this one and say conservatively, on average, or generally speaking, there are 2 planets in every one of our 300 billion star systems. So that is 600 billion planets, or chances for planets to have life.
Now, what about life? Under very general cosmic conditions, the molecules of life are readily made. They spontaneously self-assemble. It's conceivable that there might be some impediment, like some difficulty in the origin of the genetic code, say, although I think that's very unlikely given billions of years for evolution. On the Earth, life arose very fast after the planet was formed. So let's choose F sub L, the fraction of suitable worlds in which life does arise, as a half. In that case, the total number of planets in the Milky Way on which life has arisen once is 100 billion times 2 times a half, or again, 100 billion.
So I would say we could go ahead and keep this ratio of half of the planets that possibly could harbor life actually having life arise. So let's go ahead and cut our 600 billion back down to 300 billion chances for life to arise on these specific planets.
Now, the estimates get tougher. Many individually unlikely events had to occur for our species and our technology to emerge. On the other hand, there might be many different roads to high technology. Some scientists think that the path from trilobites to radio telescopes, or the equivalent, goes like a shot in all planetary systems. Other scientists disagree. Let's take some middle ground and choose F sub I as a tenth and F sub C as also a tenth, meaning that only 1%, a tenth times a tenth, of inhabited planets eventually produce a technical civilization.
So 1 out of 10 of each of these actually produces a technical civilization. And I'll also go with these numbers of 1/10 and 1/10.
If we were to multiply all these factors together, we would find 100 billion times a tenth, or 1 billion planets on which civilizations have arisen at least once.
And for those playing along at home and keeping a running total with us, our number is 3 billion planets in which the possibility of civilization becoming technological is possible.
Now, what percentage of the lifetime of a planet is marked by a technical civilization? The Earth has harbored a civilization capable of radio astronomy only for a few decades, the last few decades, out of a lifetime of a few billion years. It's hardly out of the question that we might destroy ourselves tomorrow. If that's a typical case, then F sub big L would be a few decades divided by a few billion years, or 100 millionth, a very small number. And then big N would be a billion times 100 millionth, or N maybe just 10 civilizations, a tiny smattering, a pitiful few technological civilizations in the galaxy.
And our number, for those wondering, is 30. 30 civilizations, according to this version of the Drake equation, that could possibly be technological, at least based on that particular estimate at the end.
But civilizations then might take billions of years of tortuous evolution to arise and then snuff themselves out in an instant of unforgivable neglect. If this is a typical case, there may be few others, maybe nobody else at all, for us to talk to.
And we will get more into that in the second half of the show coming up here shortly, but it does beg one question when it comes to the technological and especially the nuclear age. At any time we could literally destroy ourselves, so how long does a technological civilization last before it just implodes on itself and is destroyed from the inside? Again, we'll get into more of that and different solutions to the Fermi Paradox in the second half. But however, it's not all dark and gloom.
But consider the alternative, that occasionally civilizations learn to live with high technology and survive for geological or stellar evolutionary timescales. If only 1% of civilizations can survive technological adolescence, then F sub big L would be not 100 millionth, but only 100th. And then the number of civilizations would be 1 billion times 100th. The number of civilizations in the galaxy then would be measured in the millions. Millions of technical civilizations.
And a minimum of 3 million. How do you like that, ladies and gentlemen? It could go from 30 to 3 million possible technical civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy alone. So the question still remains, and is even more pertinent than ever: where is everybody? And we'll get more into those solutions in the second half of the Darkwolf's Den Show coming up here in just a minute, ladies and gentlemen. We got to take a network break, and we'll be right back after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We got to stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Ow! On a Thursday night, are you enjoying the Darkwolf's Den Show so far? I know I am. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of common sense radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. I'll be back again tomorrow night, Friday, March 12th. Can you believe it? It's already halfway through March. March 12th, as we explore the rabbit hole of hoarding. That's right. We're going to dive deep down the rabbit hole and look at hoarding and hoarders and what that means. And then Saturday night, March 13th, Saturday the 13th, we're going to explore endorphins. That's right. What releases chemical reactions within our brain that increase our positivity and our well-being? Endorphins will be our topic March 13th, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. And there will be an on-air experiment. And hopefully we can stimulate your endorphins through the airwaves. Join us and we'll find out together. And then we'll end out the weekend right on Sunday, March 14th, as we explore minimalism. Can you live without 100 things or less? Could you do it? If you were only allowed to keep 100 things, could you do it? And maybe you already are, as many minimalists are amongst us today. We're going to explore exactly that. 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, to end out the weekend right, Sunday, March 14th. All shows start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. If you haven't done so already, please hop on over to the Rippin' Rabbit Hole and join our exclusive Backstage Pass. We'll send you out our weekend schedule every Wednesday morning. It'll share with you the Darkwolf dens and the rabbit holes we'll explore in the most extended weekends in radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. We'll return back to the Fermi Paradox. What an interesting topic, Jerry. I have notes. I want to review them with you. I really do. Because this is all new to me. I have not heard of the Fermi Paradox until tonight, and I can't wait to hear more. You're listening to the Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network. We return back to Jerry Hicks and the Darkwolf's Den as he continues to howl at the Fermi Paradox. What better way can you think of spending a Thursday night in 2021?
This is My Life DIY, and
Hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Thursday, March 11th, 2021. Whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for AJ the Rippin' Rabbit and that great halftime report. We really appreciate that. What a wonderful weekend lineup we have ahead. And if you ever lose the email or wonder what's going on, make sure you do jump over to the rippinrabbithole.com. That is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. That's right. Over there, you're going to find a lot of goodies. And do make sure you sign up for the Backstage Pass. And you do receive our email every Wednesday, knowing the incredible topics we're going to talk about all weekend long. Like tonight's topic, the Fermi Paradox. This is something that, once again, has many physicists scratching their heads. We went over in the first half the Frank-Drake equation and the Kardashev Scale, and now we're going to actually go into some possible solutions for the Fermi Paradox. None of these are set in stone, but these are all great thought experiments and possible reasons why we don't find life elsewhere in the galaxy. For instance, recently there's been a probe or lander put on Mars again. I guess this one's called the Perseverance lander. And the supposed reason that they put it there is to look for the evidence of ancient life on Mars. Now, I will be the first one to tell you, like all of them, I do not believe anything NASA says. Yes, NASA lies. We all know that. I will not argue that even for a second. I fully agree. I just don't think they're covering up what everybody thinks they're covering up. I think they're covering up evidence of alien life already visiting this planet, but that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother time. The point is, they do have a lander or a rover or whatever on Mars looking for the evidence of ancient life. So let's assume that they actually find that evidence.
Imagine NASA announced today that they found aliens. Bacteria on Mars, weird alien fish in the oceans of Europa, and also ancient alien ruins on Titan. Wouldn't that be great?
Most people would agree that would be a great thing. Not only that the information got released, but the fact that it existed, that would be amazing information, right? Really good, right?
Well, no. It would be horrible news. Devastating even.
And why would that be?
It could mean that the end of humanity is almost certain and that it might be coming soon. Why? Why would the most exciting discovery of our lifetime be bad? It's in the nature of life as we know it to reach out, to cover every niche it can. And since planets have a limited carrying capacity and lifespan, if a species wants to survive, it will look for more places to spread to. So the steps above the current ones seem logical. Colonize your own solar system, then spread further to reach other stars. To the possible final step, becoming a galaxy-wide civilization. It's very likely that this is a universal principle for civilizations, no matter where they're from. If a species is competitive and driven enough to take control over its planet, they'll probably not stop there.
And that, of course, seems to be the natural evolution of a species, right? One would think it would be the natural evolution to grow into the point that it goes into outer space and colonizes and spreads, and just like we would do, at least that's the assumption that one would make. That would be the natural evolution of events.
But we're observing 0 galactic civilizations. We should be able to see something. But there's nothing. Space seems to be empty and dead. This means something is preventing living things from climbing the staircase beyond the step we're on right now. Something that makes becoming a galactic civilization extremely hard.
And thus the first suggested solution to the Fermi Paradox. There's something that stops these civilizations from reaching the level of galactic ability.
Maybe impossible. This is the Great Filter, a challenge or danger so hard to overcome that it eliminates almost every species that encounters it.
Arthur C. Clarke was once quoted as saying that there's either no life in the universe or it's teeming with life, and either of these options are equally as scary, end quote.
There are 2 scenarios. One means we are incredibly special and lucky. The other one means we are doomed and practically already dead. It depends on where the filter is on our staircase. Behind or ahead of us. Scenario 1. The filter is behind us. We are the first.
And this is a pretty popular theory out there. What if there isn't any others that have arisen thus far?
If the filter is behind us, that means that one of the steps we passed is almost impossible to take. Which step could it be? Is life itself extremely rare? It's very hard to make predictions about how likely it is for life to emerge from dead things. There is no consensus. Some scientists think it develops everywhere where the conditions are right. Others think that Earth might be the only living place in the universe.
Of course, the only place we've found intelligent life, and call it intelligent as you may, is the Earth so far.
Another candidate is the step of complex animal cells. A very specific thing happened on this step, and as far as we know, it happened exactly once. A primitive hunter cell swallowed another cell, but instead of devouring it, the 2 cells formed a union. The bigger cell provided shelter, took care of interacting with the environment and providing resources, while the smaller one used its new home and free stuff to focus on providing a lot of extra energy for its host. With the abundant energy, the host cell could grow more than before and build new and expensive things to improve itself, while the guest became the powerhouse of the cell. These cells make up every animal on the planet. Maybe there are billions of bacteria-covered planets in the Milky Way, but not a single one, apart from us, has achieved our level of complexity.
Once again, none that academia will currently recognize anyway.
Or intelligence. We humans feel very smart and sophisticated with our crossword puzzles and romantic novels, but a big brain is, first and foremost, a very expensive evolutionary investment. They are fragile. They don't help in a fistfight with a bear. They cost enormous amounts of energy. And despite them, it took modern humans 200,000 years to get from sharp sticks to civilization. Being smart does not mean you get to win automatically. Maybe intelligence is just not so great, and we're lucky that it worked out for us.
And perhaps intelligence leads to the destruction of the species. Perhaps when it hits a certain technological level, it destroys itself like in nuclear war. And perhaps that's what has happened on other planets. It's been suggested that that is what's happened on Mars, interestingly enough. But there is the possibility that once these civilizations, even if they are intelligent and do reach technological levels, perhaps they do still snuff themselves out.
Scenario 2. The filter is ahead of us. Plenty of others died already. A great filter before us is orders of magnitude more dangerous than anything we encountered so far. Even if a major disaster killed most of us or threw us back thousands of years, we would survive and recover. And if we can recover, even if it takes 1 million years, then it's not a great filter, but just a roadblock to an eventual galactic civilization. On universal timescales, even millions of years are just the blink of an eye. If a great filter really lies before us, it has to be so dangerous, so purely devastating and powerful that it has destroyed most, if not all, advanced civilizations in our galaxy over billions of years.
And like Arthur C. Clarke said, it is equally as scary to think that there have been a multitude of different civilizations that have existed, but at this point have already destroyed themselves, or something has come along to destroy them. And we'll get into that possibility here in just a moment.
A really daunting and depressing hypothesis is that once a species takes control over its planet, it's already on the path to self-destruction. Technology is a good way to achieve that. It needs to be something that's so obvious that virtually everybody discovers it, and so dangerous that its discovery leads almost universally to an existential disaster. A large-scale nuclear war.
The problem with nuclear, though, is it doesn't necessarily have to be a war, right? Look at Chernobyl and Fukushima, both threatened to destroy the planet. At least the possibility was there. And I would still say there's still some danger out of Fukushima, but that's another story altogether. The point is, it could be mismanagement of nuclear power and things that were meant to be used correctly gone wrong.
Nanotechnology that gets out of control.
Think of a nanotechnology that is programmed to self-replicate using any and all materials in its available area. And this would eventually break down everything, including humans and anything else, including, whatever material it could find, and become what is called in science fiction a gray goo. Basically this massive nanotech that is combined together to be this overwhelming reproductive thing that takes over and destroys everything in its path. And perhaps that's another option. Perhaps there's a galactic civilization, or a civilization of some type, that once it finds their other civilizations, it utterly destroys them. Maybe that creates the filter so that they are the only dominant civilization or species in the galaxy. That also could be one reason why there's no one else left. And radio silence basically has been kept up because if they are found, they are destroyed. That's yet another idea for the great filter.
Genetic engineering of the perfect superbug.
As we've seen the possibility of in the last couple of years, though what we are experiencing is nowhere near that, the possibility that something like that could happen and a engineered superbug could attack all of the species on a planet is not unheard of. We're already getting into genetic manipulation right now in our line of learning and science. So it's not hard to think that other creatures would also have gotten into that same line of research and led down a bad road.
An experiment that lights the whole atmosphere on fire.
Once again, I will point back to nuclear power, because the odds of the atmosphere being lit on fire when they destroyed the first bomb, according to scientists, was a 50-50 chance. Think about that. Somebody told a person at the top that there's a 50-50 chance of destroying the entire Earth and atmosphere, and somebody at the top went, 50-50? Okay, let's do it. That's scary. That is really disturbing that in our species, when given that option, somebody said, okay, let's take that chance anyway. So what if that had turned out the wrong way? We would have been ended, and I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. But what if there was another species whose atmosphere wasn't quite like ours, and when the same test was done, everything was destroyed? I mean, there's a number of what-ifs you could go through here.
It might be a super intelligent AI that accidentally or purposely destroys its creators.
That's something else that's scary about the AI. Think about this. There is no real good way to program an AI. If you told it keep mankind safe, it would most likely go to the logical conclusion of locking us all up in cages like animals to keep us away from each other, right? That would keep everyone safe. That would be a logical computer solution. So, yeah, the AI could inadvertently or purposely destroy the race because it is inferior or because it was accidentally programmed as a good thing that turned out bad.
Or things that we can't even see coming right now. Or it's way simpler. Species competitive enough to take over their planet necessarily destroy it while competing with each other for resources.
So busy fighting each other that they destroy each other on the planet and never even make it to exploration elsewhere. That's a good possibility too, that there's more civilizations like humanity that enjoys warring so much that they never make it any further than that. They're intelligent, they just aren't worried about space travel or colonizing elsewhere. So that is a possibility too, that those civilizations just never really consider the idea past war.
Maybe there are runaway chain reactions in every ecosystem that once set in motion are not fixable. And so once a civilization is powerful enough to change the composition of its atmosphere, they make their planet uninhabitable 100% of the time. Let's hope that that's not the case.
Now, there's an option that I hadn't thought of, an accidental terraforming mistake gone wrong. There's something we never really considered, eh?
Awesome future technology exists, but when activated, it destroys the planet. The last words of every advanced civilization would be, "This new device will solve all of our problems once I push this button."
Sounds like every solution the U.S. government has ever offered.
If this is true, then we are closer to the end than the beginning of human existence. Or maybe there is an ancient Type 3 civilization that monitors the universe, and once a civilization is advanced enough, it gets eliminated in an instant. Maybe there is something out there that it would be better not to discover. There is no way for us to know.
And though I did mention that particular one a moment ago, it reminds me of the warning that Stephen Hawking gave. He said we should not be broadcasting out to the universe where we are and who we are, because if a alien civilization was intelligent enough to travel all the way across the galaxy, then it probably wouldn't end well for the ones that they went to visit. Remember, it didn't end well when the Europeans came over to the Americas and the Native Americans paid the price for that. And I am paraphrasing Hawking at this point, but basically he was saying that, remember, it didn't end well for the Native Americans, and if an alien civilization came to the Earth, it would probably end about the same way for us. He advised against letting civilizations know, hey, here we are. But remember, we've been sending out radio waves and signals and TV signals out into the universe since the 30s or 40s. So there could be a planet somewhere right now enjoying I Love Lucy. And Lord knows if they judge us by our television, that's why they haven't come to visit, ladies and gentlemen. Because if our television represents how smart we are, yeah, we're nothing but a laughingstock to the galaxy, right?
One final thought, maybe we're alone. Right now, we have no evidence that there's any life besides us. Nothing. The universe appears to be empty and dead. No one sending us messages, no one answering our calls. We may be completely alone, trapped on a tiny moist mud ball in an eternal universe. Does that thought scare you? If it does, you're having the correct emotional reaction. If we let life on this planet die, perhaps there will be no life left in the universe. Life will be gone, maybe forever. If this is the case, we just have to venture to the stars and become the first Type 3 civilization to keep the delicate flame of life existing and to spread it until the universe breathes its final breath and vanishes into oblivion. The universe is too beautiful not to be experienced by someone.
So it comes down to a really simple question. Are we the first? Are we the last? Or are we somewhere in the middle? Are we the only civilization that has arisen in the entire universe? Is it possible that life isn't as prevalent as we would think? Well, I would disagree with that premise personally, because we have something on this planet called Extremophiles, and these are creatures that exist in places that we never thought life could exist. You've got life living in Antarctica, as we know, with the seals and whales and penguins, but beyond that, we found life in trenches, in lava beds, in springs of hot springs at the very bottom of oceans, in vents that are so hot humans could not stand to live there. But there are creatures that can, and we're only looking, of course, for carbon-based life that we would understand or know. What if life comes in many forms? What if life comes in the form of silicon? What if life comes in the form of water? What if life comes in many, many different forms? What if we're looking too narrowly to find life? Or perhaps the technical signatures just haven't reached us yet. Perhaps we're in a part of the galaxy that is just quiet. I don't know. Perhaps we're the last civilization. Perhaps all the civilizations have already come and gone and have destroyed themselves or each other. Or perhaps there is something in place like we see in Star Trek, like the Prime Directive, where they're just not allowed to interact with us, or other civilizations that haven't spotted them yet, or come into interaction, or come to a certain level of existence to be accepted into, say, a federation of galactic empires, or anything of that measure. These are all ideas and speculations, but again, they're answers and possible solutions to this Fermi Paradox, the question of where everyone is at. But what do you guys think? Where do you think everyone is hiding? Do you think possibly we are the first or last civilization in the entire galaxy, or the entire universe even? Or do you think possibly there's something out there that is swallowing up different civilizations that reach a different level? Perhaps there's a prime directive in place where they just cannot show themselves to us. What do you guys think? Do you guys think any of this is possible? Or do you think that Earth is the only place that has ever had the wonderful miracle of life? All we can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and in the end, ladies and gentlemen, you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right. That's it for this episode of the Darkwolf's Den Show for Thursday, March 11th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. The den may be closing tonight, ladies and gentlemen, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has only just begun. That's right. Make sure you come back tomorrow, Friday, March 12th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 Central, for AJ the Rippin' Rabbit and the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. On Friday, he'll be talking about hoarders. That's right. Hoarders that like to hoard everything they find and run out of space and eventually can't even move around their own house. I know you guys have seen these on TV. This is going to be an interesting conversation and one you do not want to miss on Friday, March 12th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Saturday, March 13th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, AJ's going to dive down the rabbit hole of endorphins, the funny little things that make you feel funny. That's right. He's going to discuss the happy chemicals in our bodies, and possibly these are why we have hoarders, right? People that hoard so much because they get a endorphin rush from it. Maybe that's why they do it. I don't know, but maybe he'll go over that and more on Saturday, March 13th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. All shows here on the network start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. That's right. Then on Sunday, we are going to go to the opposite end of the scale from the hoarders, and AJ the Ribbon Rabbit is going to be talking about minimalist. That's right. Sunday, March 14th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. He'll be discussing minimalist from one end of the scale to the other this weekend, from hoarders to minimalist. I myself find myself a minimalist equally. And guys, don't forget, coming up the 20th is our very, very special network broadcast, the Freedom Flame broadcast. If you don't know what that is, this is the 4th annual Freedom Flame broadcast here on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network. The Freedom Flame burns in Ripon, Wisconsin at the Little White Schoolhouse. If you don't know what it is, you definitely do not want to miss this episode, this very special freedom-filled episode on March 20th, next week I believe it is. Do make sure you set your calendars for that. This is one that you want to share around to your friends, your family, your family's friends, your friends' family, and everybody in between. You want everybody here this night. This is going to be a very special celebration for us here on the network. That's right. Also, Sunday, guys, don't forget, coming up this Sunday, not only will AJ the Ribbon Rabbit be talking about mentalists, but it is also the night that we spring ahead. You know, the rabbits love to do some springing, right? It is definitely our season, and don't forget to spring ahead with your clocks on Sunday. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm going to go over to the RiponRabbitHole.com. That is RiponRabbitHole.com. Over there, I'm going to hang out in the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. But in order to do that, you got to sign up for the Backstage Pass. That's right. This is really simple. Only takes a couple seconds to get a Backstage Pass. And when you sign up for that, you're also going to be signing up for our weekly email. Do not worry, your information is safe with us. We do not spam your inbox. We do not sell your information. We do not give your information away. The only reason that we need your information is to give you the information of the coming up shows we have every week. And you'll get this one time on Wednesday, and you'll know all the wolf dens and rabbit holes that will be dug down all weekend long. And again, over at the RiponRabbitHole.com, do make sure you get that Backstage Pass. Also, come on down to the 24/7 Backstage Lounge and hang out with me once you've got your pass. And you can also drop down the rabbit hole. That is our social media alternative over there. If you're looking for a fun social media alternative, I suggest you check that out. As Freedom Flame lovers and freedom lovers over here, this is definitely something that I'm sure will be right up your alley. And that's it for us here, ladies and gentlemen, this week on the Darkwolf's Den Show. I hope everybody's enjoyed these episodes this week. It has been an absolute honor and pleasure for me to do this for you guys, as it is every single time. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Walt House, AJ the Ribbon Rabbit, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, everyone at Ripon Common Sense Radio, our amazing mod team. On behalf of all these folks, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And remember, until next time, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. How yeah! That's right.
I'm lost and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.